Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever been to a funeral or a memorial and just noticed how we only seem to talk about the good things, the best parts of a person, after they're gone? It's a really interesting and pretty universal human thing. In this explainer, we're going to dive into one particular spiritual perspective that offers a unique answer to that exact question.
So let's get right to it. Why do we wait? Why does our perception of someone seem to shift so dramatically the moment they pass on? It's a question many of us have probably wondered about. Well, to understand the answer that's proposed in our source material, we first have to tackle a really foundational idea, this concept of where our emotions actually live.
Okay, so first things first. To unpack this whole idea, we have to start with the concept that our feelings aren't just these abstract things floating around in our heads. This explanation suggests they have a physical home right inside our bodies.
So here's the deal. The idea is that every single emotion you experience, all the joy, the anger, the sadness, the love, it doesn't just disappear. It gets physically stored somewhere in your body. It's even suggested that these stored emotions can cause actual physical problems in the areas where they're held. So basically, our bodies become this living, breathing record of our entire emotional history.
This quote right here really just lays it all out, doesn't it? This is the core premise that the rest of this explanation is built on. You have to kind of get on board with this one idea, that our physical body is basically a container for all of our emotional baggage, the good and the bad.
And, this isn't just presented as some abstract theory. The source material actually points to real-world practices, like what's known as tapping, as a way that people try to work with this idea. The whole goal of a technique like that is to physically interact with your body to release those emotions that have been stored up for who knows how long.
Okay, so we've got this idea of emotions being physically stored in our bodies. So what? How in the world does that explain why we say nice things about people after they're gone? Well, this is where death comes into the picture and creates what the source calls a disconnection.
And here it is, laid out plain and simple. When a person is alive, what we're interacting with is the whole package, right? It's their soul plus the body that's holding on to all those stored up emotions. But after death, according to this view, that connection gets severed. The body is gone, and what's left is just the soul, which is now described as being totally pure and clean, completely free from all that physical and emotional stuff.
So, here's the real kicker. Our perception changes because the very thing we're connecting with has fundamentally changed. We're no longer dealing with the person, the soul plus the body with all its messy, complicated emotional history. Instead, we're now just connecting with the pure essence of that soul. And that, according to this viewpoint, is why we only feel and remember the good.
All right, so if the soul is now pure and free, what happens next? Does it just float away? Well, the source material suggests it's actually just beginning a new journey. And it's a journey driven by a concept many of us have heard of, karma. It's described as this ongoing cycle. You see, the soul leaves its old physical form, but it doesn't just disappear. It moves on, and its goal is to find a new body so it can continue to work through its karmic path, which is basically just the sum of all its past actions and their consequences. And this is where it gets really interesting. This next life, this new form, it isn't random. The source suggests that the soul picks up a new look, a new role, like being a parent or a child or a friend, because that specific role gives it the best possible chance to fulfill its unique karma. It's all very purposeful.
Now, this entire framework also gives us a pretty fascinating way to think about traditions we're all familiar with, like funerals and last rites.
So you might think funerals are for the person who passed away, right? Well, according to this perspective, they're not. They're actually for us, for the living. The whole purpose is to help us formally cut the cord on all those emotional entanglements we had with that person's physical, emotion-storing body.
And that is the absolute key distinction here. The soul, it's already gone. It's off on its new journey to fulfill its karma. The ceremonies, the goodbyes, the rites, all of that is for our benefit. They are tools for our own closure, helping us release that connection to the physical part and remember the pure soul instead.
So, after exploring this whole spiritual framework, we're left with a pretty powerful question to think about. If our day-to-day view of people is so tangled up with the emotions stored in their physical bodies, what does that mean for how we connect with each other? Right here, right now, while we're all still living. It's definitely some food for thought. Thanks for joining me for this one.